falling on the wrong side of misfortune. When you know you have the pace and you just can't quite unlock it because of various external factors, how easy or difficult is it just to pick your head up again and go 7 days time, or go in 7 days time again?
Not very easy. Not very easy. That's probably the most frustrating thing, knowing and seeing that you have flashes of pace, but there's just zero consistency, zero confidence, and it's just because with the line, of course we know I'm quick, or someone might know that they're quick. So it's there, you can do it, but you can almost feel yourself being slow, like, oh, this turn in was bad. Instantly, and the trail braking, sometimes you're holding the brakes because you don't know if you're going to make the corner or not, even if you've braked at, let's say, the 100 meter board, which people might say, oh yeah, that's the braking point for that corner. It's little things like that, like holding the brakes, locking up on purpose. You can feel yourself being slow and bad on purpose, but you can't help it. So it's very frustrating. But you just kind of have to push through it and keep going, I guess.
Well, I think I speak for everybody, whether it's commentators or people watching. Welcome back, and nice to see you back at the sharp end, Kareem, after the trials and tribulations of the last few weeks. Got a wildcard coming up in a few moments' time. We will let you get prepared for that because it is quite the spicy one. But Kareem 70, everybody, we thank you, of course, for jumping into the commentary box. Now, we'll mention it at the very start. Wildcard on the agenda, and wild is definitely the term. But I think the best way to summarise it is if I hand over to our very own Hayden Gullis to take you around his interpretations of a lap of Interlagos.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, of course, it is me, Hayden Gullis. I am back. And today, I am going to be setting the time that our drivers are going to have to try and match if they want to secure pole position. And of course, as a man who has stood on pole position twice in Creator Series history, there was no one better to set the benchmark. So without any further ado, let's get a lap time around Brazil. Let's set our benchmark lap time around Brazil and see what we can do, braking at the 50-meter board down to third gear as we go through the center S, then into fourth through turn 2 and get the ERS burning through turn 3, keeping it nice and tight, and then DRS wide open as we prepare ourselves for turn 4. I'm assuming there's a lot of you thinking you're really smart right now. What if I get the stopwatch out? What if I record Hayden's lap time? Well, it's a pretty good lap so far, if I do say so myself. Nice and clean, but actually, do you know what? I feel like there's possibly a quicker line through this corner. So it's probably a little bit annoying for you guys who have got the stopwatch out, but I don't really care. Through the right-hander anyway, let's take the shortcut and let's fly through Interlagos. Look at that. Yeah, that's a much better line through there. Keep it tidy and then back over the grass. A little bit of lawn mowing, and that seems like it's really good and tidy and maybe fast or maybe not. We'll find out at the end of the session. Through the right-hander, and that's pretty decent. Let's burn the ERS as we go downhill now in towards the final corner. A very important corner, because of course it sets you up all the way down towards the line. If you get it wrong, you're going to struggle as you go towards turn 1. DRS will be open momentarily. Has it been a fast lap? Has it been a slow lap? We're going to find out later on. Let's just one more time for the fans, across the line backwards. And that is the lap time that we have set around Brazil. But was it a fast one? What is the lap time? You guys are going to have to wait and see till after qualifying to find out.
Well. We've had a lap time. We don't know, though, what the lap time is, and that is the mystery. Will it be faster? Will it be slower than intermediate lap times? Will it be that Hayden Gullis has actually just mimicked that lap time and he's got an esports driver to take it for him? All of the question marks. We don't know what's going to be going on. TK, I think I'm right in saying this should shake up the grid quite significantly.
I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be the first time that Hayden's got an esports driver in to replicate some effort in the Creator Series. You can remember back to Japan a couple of seasons ago where a certain Mr. Lee stepped in to race in his place. So who knows quite what he's managed to conjure up here this afternoon. But I tell you what, even we don't know what that time is going to be quite yet. So I think we're in the same boat as the drivers.
100%. That's going to make it all the more exciting. That's where it is crucial that you do watch that video, because there will be some drivers, I'm sure, that will just casually swan into qualifying. I'm just going to set a lap time. I'm going to guess what Hayden's pace is like and not actually pay attention to what he's actually done in that video. So very, very critical that you do watch out for how Hayden Gullis was driving. And maybe there are a few curveballs thrown in there as well. This is the million-dollar question, TK, and I'm very sorry, but I have to ask it to somebody. And unfortunately, you're the person on screen with me. Who do you think is going to be the best at driving like Hayden Gullis?
So who is going to be the person that is, in theory, the worst in qualifying and most likely to do a lap in reverse?
Yes.
That's a really tough question. I don't want to insult any driver. I think that's where we've kind of got to find ourselves at the moment. Is like, who is going to be this driver that could mess around or could hit lap time? I mean, if there's one person I think could hit it, I think it's going to be Safso. I've got something that's kind of like telling me deep down, like he's always been one of those drivers in qualifying that if he has a good run, he is sometimes fantastic. It's not always going to be the quickest time of the night, but actually, if you're talking about a time that he has to consistently hit, it could be interesting. I do wonder, though, how much time Alex Gillen's going to spend analysing that lap and trying to get down to the millisecond what time he needs to hit.
He has got 18 minutes, maybe a little bit less. Call it 16 minutes to try and work out pinpoint accuracy on what he needs to do. Let's have a little bit of a strategy chat, though, because, of course, we're going to have to reset the lobby between qualifying and the race. First time we're going to do that for quite a while. That means the drivers will get their soft compound tyres back. Yes, they're not necessarily going to be pushing them to the absolute limit, but that gives them incredibly increased flexibility when it comes to a strategic race.
It's interesting, actually. I was talking to a few of the drivers earlier, and they were talking about taking the harder compounds or the harder allocation when we get in towards that race situation, because they know that the mediums are a tried and tested tyre here in Brazil. They don't mind how the hard tyres operate, but the soft tyres disintegrate. And we saw that actually IRL today in the sprint race without giving away too many spoilers. But they just aren't a tyre for race conditions.
100%. Going to make things very, very interesting. Updated standings for you as well post the sprint race. We said only one of our 6 championship contenders finished inside the top 8, and it means that the order right at the sharp end doesn't change too much. But for Tiamat Marduk, our former 2-time champion, one of 2 multiple champions, the gap decreases to just the 8 points, and now 11 between himself and Razin Chai. Just inching a little bit closer, Ben. Obviously, it's been 213 days, I think, maybe 211 days since Tiamat Marduk last won in the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. But he's right in the thick of this title fight.
He absolutely is, and it's so close between that top 3. You know, 8 points in it between Meraki and Ben, and then only a little bit further down the order, another 11 points down to Razin, 12 down to Vince and Lonnie Nobis. So it is still all to play for here this afternoon. And of course, we've got some interesting races coming up. We've got the likes of Vegas, we've got Abu Dhabi, 2 races that have been absolute thrillers in season gone by.
I think we do need to give a word to the best of the rest scrap, I think it's fair to say. You've got Riccio 37th, currently on 48 points. With the points picked up in the sprint race, Cream 17 16th is only 14 points shy. That is a massive cluster of cars that I think could be fighting for some fairly strong honours.
They certainly could, and it's a lot of drivers that traditionally, I don't want to, put Karim's name through the dirt a little bit, that traditionally, though, wouldn't be fighting for the higher up places in that championship. You'd see them closer down towards the bottom, the 17th through 20th. You've got the likes of Sanderson, Scotty Designs, Matt 212, 12th through 13th and 14th at the moment. Drivers that are doing relatively really well, and they're only maybe, 10 points off getting up to 7th place where Ricky stands with 48 points. It is so close in that championship.
100%. So much to play for. I just want to have a little word on Alex Gillen as well, because that sprint, as we saw from your perspective, did not go Gillen's way. We know that he's very headstrong and he will pick himself up after that, but does he need to change his approach potentially? Because I was watching his stream. He said that he was trying to be ultra cautious there on lap 1, and he still ended up tripping over 5 cars going through the center S's. So maybe is Gillen thinking too much about the championship from starting further back?
You know what? I don't think so. I think a lot of his mental battle is that he's in a Sauber. He knows he's in a Sauber, and he wants to try and... I don't like using the word overdriving the car, because I don't think it's quite the right way to look at it. But he is trying to overdrive the car, get some performance out of it that quite possibly doesn't exist from that highlighter.
Yeah, definitely not the best machinery that Gillen has been loaded with. That's what you get when you are the reigning champion and you have picked up the second most points so far this season. For people that weren't here earlier, as we wait for the lobby to load to send us into qualifying, let's have another little look at a lap of the Interlagos circuit. The lap the drivers will have to try and match as closely as possible with our very own Hayden Gullis. I think you should take it away, Hayden.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, of course, it is me, Hayden Gullis. I am back. And today, I am going to be setting the time that our drivers are going to have to try and match if they want to secure pole position. And of course, as a man who has stood on pole position twice in Creator Series history, there was no one better to set the benchmark. So without any further ado, let's get a lap time around Brazil. Let's set our benchmark lap time around Brazil and see what we can do, braking at the 50-meter board down to third gear as we go through the center S, then into 4 through turn 2 and get the ERS burning through turn 3, keeping it nice and tight, and then DRS wide open as we prepare ourselves for turn 4. I'm assuming there's a lot of you thinking you're really smart right now. What if I get the stopwatch out? What if I record Hayden's lap time? Well, it's a pretty good lap so far, if I do say so myself. Nice and clean, but actually, do you know what? I feel like there's possibly a quicker line through this corner. So it's probably a little bit annoying for you guys who have got the stopwatch out, but I don't really care. Through the right-hander anyway, let's take the shortcut and let's fly through Interlagos. Look at that. Yeah, that's a much better line through there. Keep it tidy and then back over the grass. A little bit of lawn mowing and that seems like it's really good and tidy and maybe fast or maybe not. We'll find out at the end of the session. Through the right-hander, and that's pretty decent. Let's burn the ERS as we go downhill now in towards the final corner. A very important corner because, of course, it sets you up all the way down towards the line. If you get it wrong, you're going to struggle as you go towards turn 1. DRS will be open momentarily. Has it been a fast lap? Has it been a slow lap? We're going to find out later on. Let's just one more time for the fans. Across the line backwards. And that is the lap time that we have set around Brazil. But was it a fast one? What is the lap time? You guys are going to have to wait and see till after qualifying to find out.
Well, here we are then at the start of qualifying, and as you can see, the intermediate tyres are on for the Inter's pole. And an interesting fact I was looking at so far this season, anybody who's managed to grab the Inter's pole so far this season has gone on to go and get a podium in the race. Apart from one man, and he's right below me. How are you, Carl?
Alright, I'm alright. You know, look, sometimes in the life it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, it's the history of the Creator Series, you know. But look, okay, interesting fact though, while we head into qualifying, is Safso's bravely, and so is Tiamat Marduk and Tuki, bravely going for an intermediate pole attempt. That was very interesting. Equally though, the rain starts in 5 minutes, and it's literally just started raining. So do you dare to put it into the basket of the lap time? Yeah, literally, it is raining according to our screen. This is very interesting then. They have one chance to get this right, potentially. So, do you put all the eggs in the basket? Do you put on the afterburners? Or have people been smart? I've seen a couple of smart people in the Twitch chats, so this is going to be interesting.
Methinks the weather gods might have had some sort of play in that. However, who knows what the lap time could be? Remember, it's not necessarily the fastest lap that's going to get you pole position here. It's the closest time to the time that Hayden Gullis set in that lap you just saw there. So you could be top of the standings, but you might be starting 7th. You'd never know in this one. But that will be why that some are not going for that Inter's pole time. Some are. But then when we get to it, you know, we've got Safso, Tiamat Marduk, Tuki, all on the intermediates. The rest are all on soft tyres. And as Alex Gillen says, might be genuinely difficult to get. So it may evolve into whoever's at the top gets the fastest. Who knows at this point?
Well, they've got to push to the absolute ragged edge of their machinery now. We see Safso being reeled in by a Williams car behind. I'm not sure if that's Infratic or Ricky 03. Whatever the case, they are absolutely flying behind on the softs. Of course, disrupted a little bit in the dirty air wake is the Williams car, but Safso keeping it cool and compliant. You can see how quickly the track is just beginning to develop a bit of a sheen, but we'll see these lap times flood in thick and fast. First lap is that guy, Vince. He does a 1 minute 12.3. Scotty slightly slower. We see Safso then cross the line. He goes even slower than that on the intermediate, so still slick tyres are the way to go. Lolinoba now goes fastest with a 1 minute 12.251. All very interesting so far, but is that going to be a little bit too much maybe, Kieran?
Oh, at this point, yeah, who knows? Was the rallycross line the right line? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But at this point in time, Lolinova has set the fastest lap of the session. It does mean that Safso at the moment has the fastest time on the intermediate pole time, quote unquote. But yeah, I think as well, Infratic, now will he be frustrated that he got stuck behind Safso there? I mean, he's already had his heart broken once today by a Ferrari in a qualifying session. He might have just had it again from Safso's there. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. The rain is falling here as drivers make their way through. Only the 3 drivers on the intermediates, and the red flag has been thrown here. The session has been stopped. And it looks like we're going to go for a restart here, just to add to the drama, the whimsical drama. Gareth is telling me that it was probably meant to be dry, so we're going to roll the dice again. The weather gods can't influence this one.
Lobby host, reveal yourself. That is quite shameful. Race control, apparently, okay, right. That is that old chestnut. Just Stop Oil is on the track, which is a bit weird because it's got a bit of a slick sheen anyway. So I thought, no, anyway, regardless. Ferrari into the pits. Everybody peels into the pit lane. That is it.
Hello, everyone. Slightly earlier than maybe myself and TK were expecting to come back to. Yes, a slight blunder there. It was quite fun. I think we could all admit right at the start when we thought it was going to be raining inside 5 minutes. That just descended into chaos a little bit after that when the rain came down instantaneously as the drivers came out onto the circuit. So we are going again. We're going to have a second chance at this, and hopefully the weather will stay away. But we did get a little bit of an inkling there, didn't we, TK, into certain drivers' tactics. I have been seeing some lap times being thrown around in people's chats as well, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a few drivers out there that are almost, well, were contemplating whether the formidable lap time was even going to be possible should the wet weather conditions continue, and I think that's partially why that red flag had been called by race control. But I always didn't make it back to the broadcast booth. I had to put some orange paint away. I don't know where it came from. So,
I mean, did you take a quick flight to South America by any chance?
Through the magic of teleportation, I managed to get in about 30 seconds, which was very lovely. Just loaded up MS Paint and kind of scribbled a little bit.
Some kind of protest. I think it's quite irrelevant, to be honest, what happens. But moving away from that one, I mean, we need to go back through our chatters. So we were talking about drivers that might be the favourite to drive as Hayden Gullis. With it being dry, now they won't have to worry about the rain coming down and be desperate to get it done right at the start of the qualifying session, so they can just relax a little bit. I think we do need to discuss the going over the time limit, though, because there are going to be some drivers that go quicker than the lap time that Hayden suggests, don't know that, and then will go even faster, and then be even further back. It's such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting mix, I think, for a few of our drivers as to how they stand on that podium, or stand on the plinth, so to say, of what time they think is going to be acceptable. Because if you get to a situation where you go, I think Hayden somehow managed to pull off a 107, you're going to be constantly trying to chase yourself down and down and down towards the end of the session. Whereas you maybe flip it on the other head and go, you know what, I think he's not capable of going quicker than a 1 minute 30, for example, even with that reset in there. Do you then try and kind of doubt yourself or battle your way through a little bit? How many mental mind games do you want to play with yourself before we even get to that reveal?
The flashback makes it really interesting as well, because you've got to stop the timing and then restart the timing again. Everything very much up in the air. For people that are joining us in the chat, the time will not be revealed now, but I do want to see what everybody is thinking the time is. So if you can drop your guesses, your predictions, your measurements for what lap time Hayden Gullis set, that'll be very interesting to see. We are going to be getting going again very, very shortly, of course. Still the 18-minute qualifying session. No rain on the forecast, which is absolutely lovely. So we will get the full session to try and see who can drive as close as they possibly can to Hayden Gullis. We've got a 19, I'm guessing that's a 109.5, 109.3. People fairly close together. Are you right? Are you wrong? Has Hayden Gullis hoodwinked you? Won't be the first time.
I also wouldn't put it past me if Hayden's done a completely recorded lap for him and then just made up a time to completely baffle a few drivers. I've known Hayden for a long while, and that is something that I wouldn't quite put past him.
I'm really impressed as well, for people that are dropping it, that you have actually gone to the 3 decimal places, taking this really seriously. And this is what we absolutely love to see. I'm sure Alex Skin's got his notebook out there trying to note it down as much as possible. Jess is in the low 1 minute 10s. We've still got the mid. A lot of people favouring that 109.5. I mean, maybe we know something that you don't. We'll have to wait and see. The other challenge, and we haven't actually mentioned this as well, for the drivers that do think they know what the time is, that's one thing, but trying to match that time is another.
Yeah, exactly. And especially even if we're, you could probably reliably put a 111 down on a circuit like Brazil. You just go slow through the final couple of corners, but getting it down to the milliseconds, because I guarantee that's what it's going to come down to today. It is something that is going to be incredibly hard to get right, and if you do, fair play.
Really, really close, isn't it? 110.2 we're seeing again, 111.6, 109 flat, 107.7. You really think Hayden Gullis is that fast? Or has he got an esports driver to come in? Everything's up in the air. Was he just simulating that lap time? Was he just pretending? We aren't far away, everybody, so keep your predictions coming in. Lolonoba is going to retire the car out of protest. Why are we restarting the session? Because it was raining, and it can be quite difficult. 109.3 coming in as well. Lolonoba was on pole. I would feel sympathetic for Lolonoba and the fans that are coming in if he wasn't 3 seconds off the time that you're all predicting.
I also mean, if you want to continue this, I've left my umbrella in the car, so if you want to give me a couple of minutes, I'll go get it before the tears start.
Oh yeah, go for it. I mean, it could be very interesting. You can't come in here and predict this in the 110s, 109s, and then end up miles away from that one, and can't do it.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. Carl, the protesters had slick tyres, got the wrong idea.
Love that from Carl. We are going again, though. For people that are confused, we are going to be going again. So the weather will be dry. Closest, you can see Jess has done a very good job there, getting the wild card up.
Yes.
Closest to the lap time set by Hayden Gullis will take the pole position. I think should we have another watch of it just so you can reacquaint yourselves with the lap time again, because I think Hayden would absolutely love for you to watch his incredible driving once more.
No, apparently not.
Thank you, everybody. Yes, of course. It is me, Hayden Gullis. I am back. And today, I am going to be setting the time that our drivers are going to have to try and match if they want to secure pole position. And of course, as a man who has stood on pole position twice in Creator Series history, there was no one better to set the benchmark. So without any further ado, let's get a lap time around Brazil. Let's set our benchmark lap time around Brazil and see what we can do, braking at the 50-meter board down to third gear as we go through the center S, then into 4 through turn 2 and get the ERS burning through turn 3, keeping it nice and tight, and then DRS wide open as we prepare ourselves for turn 4. I'm assuming there's a lot of you thinking you're really smart right now. What if I get the stopwatch out? What if I record Hayden's lap time? Well, it's a pretty good lap so far, if I do say so myself. Nice and clean, but actually, do you know what? I feel like there's possibly a quicker line through this corner. So it's probably a little bit annoying for you guys who have got the stopwatch out, but I don't really care. Through the right-hander anyway, let's take the shortcut and let's fly through Interlagos. Look at that. Yeah, that's a much better line through there. Keep it tidy and then back over the grass. A little bit of lawn mowing, and that seems like it's really good and tidy and maybe fast or maybe not. We'll find out at the end of the session. Through the right-hander, and that's pretty decent. Let's burn the ERS as we go downhill now in towards the final corner. A very important corner, because of course it sets you up all the way down towards the line. If you get it wrong, you're going to struggle as you go towards turn 1. DRS will be open momentarily. Has it been a fast lap? Has it been a slow lap? We're going to find out later on. Let's just one more time for the fans, across the line backwards. And that is the lap time that we have set around Brazil. But was it a fast one? What is the lap time? You guys are going to have to wait and see till after qualifying to find out.
So there is Hayden Gullis' hot lap. I didn't manage to keep a straight face. I'm so upset. There is Hayden Gullis' hot lap. We are restarting the session. There goes my hat. That's disappointing. So it is 18-minute qualifying once again. Lolonoba, I'm sorry, Lolonoba fans, but you are not going to be starting on pole. Unless you get it right this time. You've got a second chance, you know. First time was so nice. We'll do it a second time. Maybe you can do it again. We will have to wait and see. Yoshi is coming saying he timed it at a 12.1. I think that's the slowest that we've had so far. But to get us into our second attempt at the qualifying session, I think we should hand you over once again to our lovely commentary crew. It is, of course, Carl Poranic and Kieran McGinley.
Thank you very much. Yes, as you can see, we're loading in again. You're getting deja vu. Shall I reveal my fact again, Carl? I really like that fact. I'll do it again.
Do it.
Hey, did you know, and Carl won't believe he knows this, but
really?
every driver who's had Inter's pole so far this season here in the Creator Series has all gone on to get a podium in the race.
That's interesting.
Apart from one driver.
Oh,
And he's right below me. Hello, Carl. How are you?
hello. I'm just Absolutely fantastic. Welcome to qualifying. It's part 2 of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. And a lot of you think you predicted the lap time. A lot of you think you've been super intelligent and super smart. What if, and this is a Hayden Gullis thought here, what if during that flashback screen, actually all he needed to do was splice some different footage when he was driving in. So actually, the time isn't as representative as you think. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. If you think you've pulled a fast one on us, think again. We're in the pit lane. It's qualifying time. It's the second crack of the whip at trying to match Hayden Gullis's time. First session was interesting. Lolling over. Some sad Italian noises. It was incandescence in Italian earlier. But we'll see. We'll see how this transpires. How do they approach this? Same kind of attack? Or slightly different, maybe?
Well, we'll find out. I'll tell you what. Do you know what would be the greatest story in the world if lolling over gets the pole position clear? Wouldn't that be a fantastic story? Go on, lolling over. You got it. I know you can do it now. Here we go. Safso is first out onto track then as he makes his way down towards the Ciudad de Largo. On those intermediate tyres, he's having another attempt at that Inter's pole time, and he'll make his way upwards towards the turn 6 and 7. Through we go. And what's he going to be on the cards here? I can have a look and say, yeah, there's no rain expected, so completely dry throughout this session. I didn't know that was absolutely madness. But remember, if you're just joining us, it's not a case of who is fastest in this session, as Safso gets the rear end out there through in towards the final couple of corners. It's not about who gets the fastest time, it's about who gets closest to the time that Hayden Gullis set earlier on. We'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. This will be an interesting qualifying session. A couple of drivers going on to the medium tyres to start with. I assume then to maybe get a banker lap and get some sort of a delta on the board so that they can try and guesstimate and try with some degree of accuracy, and maybe not so much accurate, of what lap time they need and what lap time they're going to set.
Of course. Well, of course, the tyres get reset after this as well, once we reveal what the lap time is, and therefore we can finalise the grid for you all, ladies and gentlemen. But Safso on his intermediates pole / maybe Hayden Gullis matching time attempt. It's an 18 point whatever it was through sector 1, getting a little bit squirrely on the exit here. The intermediates just cry out for resuscitation within an instant as he heads through the Ferradura to be the first one to head through it pretty much in this qualifying session. So tricky to get the car stopped, as well as Mark apparently on the radio saying, we think we're expecting some rain in 10 minutes. Oh no, the protesters are hearing the slick tyre phrase come out again.
Oh dear, I think Mark's got this one wrong. Either that or he's got some sort of very advanced radar. Just to be on the cards. No, there is no rain predicted. Mark's got that wrong. Anyway, Safso then makes his way through in towards the final braking zone, onwards and upwards then through in towards the final run towards the line. We'll see who makes his way onwards then, what sort of time this will be. Remember, this is for a chance at Inter's pole. It's a 1:11.923 from Safso, which gets our first lap time on the board. Ricky then, 1 minute 10.3. He's gone straight in on the soft tyres. So he's pretty keen and eager to try and get as close as possible to this unknown time. Meraki then makes his way then through in towards the middle part of the lap. We'll see what he can do from this point onwards, as Kareem 1:11.6 on the intermediate, so currently has that bonus points for intermediate lap time then, as there's some huge lap times coming in. Chappers 1:08.745 from Chappers puts him now as the fastest lap of the session. Skyzy 1:09.1, and we'll see at the end of it all whether those lap times are where they'll place them, because it's of course how close they are to that target lap time. Now what's going to happen is as well that if drivers have gone quicker than that target time, then they can't go backwards. They can't just set another lap time and that's that. It's the best lap time that's taken from the session. So, hey, if you go bust, you go bust, and that's that.
Absolutely. Tell you what, Hayden Gullis is going to be sitting at home as Captain Smug, with all these drivers with extreme confidence in his ability. So fair play to Hayden Gullis. Red Bull of Tukey crossing the line, still an intermediates pole up for grabs, of course, if they haven't indeed already gone bust. But at the moment, it's Kareem 17 that holds it. Formula Kai with an interstellar attempt as well. Not quite able to overthrow, though, the Mercedes man, who has just ramped up the confidence since that first sprint win. He's going now for another extra point as he peels into the pit lane. Only 2 more drivers are trying to take away, in fact, make that 3 potentially. Razin Chai Indeed, no, saving the battery, not going to, but his teammate Alex Gillen certainly is, as is Meraki. Only a minute left to do it. Here comes the first one then. The American Dream to the line.
Meraki getting some slipstream there. Is that going to make his way on towards that Inters pole? It's not. It's 1 minute 12.1 from Meraki then, so it's not fast enough to get that Inters pole time. But here comes Alex Gillen on his way towards the line. What lap time can he set on those intermediate tyres? 1 minute 12.2, so he won't be getting that Inters pole lap time. 1:11.6 as it stands, and from the looks of it then, it looks like Kareem has got himself a nice bit of history coming on here. There's only one driver in the entire Creator Series this series that hasn't got a podium once they've got the Inters pole, and he's sitting right with me.
Hell yeah, that's me. You had to just mention it a third time, didn't you? I hate the power of three, but Kareem 17.
Third time's the charm.
That's third time's the charm, exactly. 15 seconds left, and we have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that Kareem 70 is going to pick up his 9th point of this Creator Series race weekend. By the way, more times flooding in on the soft tyres. Matt 212, a 110.771. Fabio with a 1 minute 9.613. Interesting to see the different approaches here in this qualifying session. Do they think they should be going even faster? Maybe that's their banker time. Maybe that's their current assessment of the qualifying session. All extremely interesting. Everybody else peeling into the pit lane. Plenty of slick tyre times to get onto the board. And well, how on earth do you approach this from here? Safso, DRS, maximum flappage, wide open. And how much does he dare to dream and improve by?
Sorry, they say prepare for everything in commentary whenever you get behind the mic. I was not prepared for maximum flappage. Accidental partridge, we hear you, we respect you. Concept has gone straight on at turn 1 there as he makes his way then possibly just jumping out of the way. He's 4th fastest in this session at the moment with a 1 minute 10.1. There's Lolinoba, who makes his way now through the ZRS and onwards then through the Curva de Sol and onwards then towards the back straight, then onwards he will then run down towards the 4th corner, the Descida de Largo, as we'll see what he can do. He's gone trying to power his way through and of course see what he can do. We'll see how it all pans out. We've got Kareem, who's had that Inters pole time, so that's pretty much locked and loaded. He'll get those extra points and he'll be very happy with that one indeed. We'll see what he can do in the race. Of course, he's coming into this weekend, we say weekend, in really good form. He got the sprint win. He's now got an Inters pole. I mean, Carl, this could be a man on a mission today. As Safso puts in a 1 minute 7.5. Great lap time from Safso there to go top of the session. But again, I can't say it's for pole position because we just don't know.
Indeed we don't. Hayden Gullis still Vice Admiral smug, thinking that people have phenomenal pace, so fair play to him. Lolinoba, what eggs does he put into the basket? A 1 minute 9.860. Quite evidently, I think, taking a lot less speed onto the start-finish straight as he tries. And of course, all of his little engineers in the Twitch chats all around the paddock try to predict the lap times. We're about half of the way through this qualifying session. Of course, we have our man on the ground. He's jumping in between Twitch chats. And I just have to wonder, TK, if we could bring you in, what is the assessment all the way through the paddock at the moment?
I tell you what, it's an interesting one. There's a lot of I don't quite know what's going on here feeling amongst the paddock because they all are trying to chase this imaginary lap time that they can't even fathom, and they've got their chats kind of screaming in their ears as to what they all think the target lap time is going to be. And actually, I think that's causing a bit of a disdain amongst the driver individuals because they don't know who to believe or what to actually try and accomplish here.
Yeah, it's more of a, help can hinder and hinder can help. But yeah, we've got TK down in the pit lane now, which is great. We've got our own Tom Knight. Ted Kravitz, Tom Knight. What's the difference? Scotty Designs, by the way, 1 minute 9.167. Gets the 4th fastest lap time in this session so far.
Very interesting. Razin gambled on the hard compound tyres. He set a 1 minute 9.340, which, to be honest, on hard tyres, is a pretty impressive lap time. However, again, we just don't know. As Scotty goes for a little swivel and a spin, some donuts, up towards the Cena del Lago. In fact, I have a weird feeling that he's going to disqualify. Yes, he is going to disqualify himself. So Scotty Designs throwing in the towel, perhaps suggesting that according to our man in the pit lane, TK, it was absolutely intentional. I thought for a moment he had just absolutely psychologically been battering rammed because he might well have thought he'd gone completely bust.
Well, you know, that's one for the content, isn't it? That's one for the meme recap. We see you, Scotty Designs, by the way. We see you. We see you. There's Dark Viper, who makes his way then through in towards the turn 6 and 7 complex. He's just jumping out of the way on a 1 minute 12.5 at this moment in time. And looking at the timing screens, we've got 8 minutes left of the session then. Safso has the fastest lap of the session, 1 minute 7.5. We've got Alex Can't Drive, 1 minute 14.6, all lap times that at this point could all be pole position. You just don't know at this point. So Dark Viper then makes his way through in towards the final braking zone, and he'll power his way up probably back towards the pit lane, or maybe this is just winding up a lap. He'll get a lovely bit of tow from the Red Bull in front of him, and it is going to be a setup, a wind up for a flying lap here, and just over 7 minutes on the clock left in this qualifying session as we guide our way through with Dark Viper through the Center S and then through the Curva de Sol through in towards that long turn 3. There's Meraki, whose 1 minute 9.599 is the 7th fastest lap time in this session. He brings it back into the pits with just under 7 minutes left.
Completely different dynamic of a qualifying session. I quite like it in a way. Try and set the lap time. You can't exactly push full beans to try and achieve, as Alex Gillen matches that guy Vince to the millisecond with a 1 minute 9.807. And dare I say, we could see a lot more of that depending on the calculations that everybody has attempted to do. So it's only an indication, but that is an inkling of just how minute the margins are going to be with 6.5 minutes remaining.
Exactly that, and we'll see how Alex Gillen can get on. Obviously, he's wanting to put the sprint race behind him. He needs a good race later on today. Currently, the 10th fastest lap time in this session with a 1 minute 9.807. As we have Tukey, 1 minute 8.2 now, goes second fastest in this session. And there goes Alex Gillen then across the line to start a new flying lap. It didn't really need that weave there on the start finish line, or maybe he did. We'll find out through the Curva do Sol and onwards then towards the Retro down towards the 4th corner of the circuit, down towards the Cida de Largo. And Safso with that fastest lap time so far. Alex Gillen will be looking to see what he can do. Can he make it a race win 3 out of the last 4 weekends? He'd be on the top step if he can get a win this weekend. There's Tiamat Marduk, a fantastic sprint race, gets him within 8 points of championship leader Meraki. He'll be wanting to really capitalise on this really good run of form, especially from the sprint, gaining 12 positions in the sprint.
Yeah, more shuffling at the front of the field as Lolin Ober now goes into P3 with a 1 minute 8.6. All still very interesting. Tiamat Marduk, what's he going to do? The answer is a 1 minute 9.598. And again, you're seeing those margins emerge. 1,000th of a second between Tiamat Marduk and Meraki. I mean, Alex Gillen and that guy Vincent already matched each other previously, but that is just further indication and proof that this is going to be a spicy spectacle to the end.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, should we have this more often? This is great stuff because, you know, drivers are having to sort of listen to their engineers and their chats as well about what the lap time could be. Where do they, you know, what lap time do they nail down, essentially, is going to be the big play here, and who's going to get it right. It gives that intrigue, it gives that what do I believe element to the qualifying session. But you might actually, you know, you could try and figure out a benchmark lap time, as we see him frantic there, just going for a couple of pirouettes and spins, as I think he's pretty much happy with his qualifying session with just over 4 minutes to go. But, you know, that added element of what's going to be the time, but then you've got to actually put in the lap time to get close to it. So you've got the two elements there. What lap time do I need? And what do I need to do to actually get the lap time in the first place?
For sure, absolutely. A bunch of people have just thrown in the towel, by the way. Whether they think they've miscalculated it or whether they're happy with their effort, that is the big question. Matt212, where does he go? He goes a 10th faster. He goes to 1 minute 10.574. Incremental improvements. Kareem70 has also bowed out. This very interesting. Tiamat Marduk saying, ideally, I want to go 4 tenths quicker. Oh, the mind games, ladies and gentlemen. People still aren't satisfied out there. They believe in our Lord and Saviour, Mr. Hayden Gullis. This is a very, very interesting dynamic.
It is. But would he have put in, our Hayden Gullis, an extra 4/10 of a second? Again, the mind games come into play. Well, we'll see. Just over 3 minutes left of this qualifying session to run. We have Safso, who has set the fastest lap of the session. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's pole position. Alex can't drive with a 1 minute 10.9. We've got Dark Viper, 1:11.5. They could also just as well be pole position. We'll find out at the end of the session what the target lap time was and who got closest to it here. Alex Gillen then makes his way through in towards that last braking zone then at Jun Sau, and he'll make his way now onwards and upwards through in towards the triple left-hander essentially up towards the line. Alex Gillen will go with just about 2.5 minutes left on the clock. What's the lap time he does? It's a 1 minute 9.590, and that puts him slap bang in the middle of all the lap times here. And we'll wait and see, of course, what that all, how that will shuffle around the order, if it does.
Man, this is absolutely intriguing. I'm not even going to lie to you. Look at us studying every millisecond. Some brilliant, brilliant drifting action from Fabio in the Williams car. Clearly has no interest in improving his time. Fair enough, sire. You believe what you want to believe. Ricky03, though, is looking potentially to improve, as is this man. Alex can't drive. He's clearly keeping wheel to tarmac at the moment, though, as he heads through the Ferradura, through turn 6 and 7, into turn number 8. Generally prioritise an earlier apex, and he does, but that's when you're going maximum attack. Hold the inside line to minimise the distance. You're then braking as the tarmac ends on the left-hand side to pinch the nose in, but you can see how tentative the Aston Martin is, and that's what everybody's been trying to do here. Well, discounting the likes of Safso Tuki and probably Lolly, who have just decided, yep, Hayden's quick. That's the end of that conversation, but clearly just holding back a little bit as they look to try and pursue those extra crucial milliseconds.
How much does that speak of Hayden as well? Oh, I might just have to hold back a little bit here. Alex can't drive. 1 minute 10.5 is the 17th fastest lap time in this session. There's Ricky then, who's making his way onwards towards the start-finish line. What sort of lap time will he set? 1 minute 10.1 as Vince over the radio says, I'm ego retiring. Well, there you go. Alex Gillen, happy with his lap time. He retires the car. So too does Alex Can't Drive. Of course, there's not long left in this session. Just about 50 seconds left as Concept now makes his way through in towards Jun Sau, the 10th corner of the circuit. Back on the power we will go then as Vince then sets that 1 minute 9.529 and Formula Kai 1 minute 9.537. It's clear what some drivers are targeting, not clear what others are doing. Concept 1 minute 9.558 here. There's a clear pattern emerging right around that midfield, isn't there? Wow, this is so close, but who's actually going to be on pole?
This is quite something. Tiamat Marduk improves his time as well. 1 minute 9.484. Interesting here. You can see how compressed it is in the midfield where they think they've got that crucial calculation correct. Pretty much everybody has thrown in the towel. Infratic ends his qualifying session. It's a 1 minute 9.613 and no more. Concept 7, a 109.558. Very interesting indeed. Matt212, is he actually going for another lap time? It looks like he's tracking along using plenty of track as he heads out of the Sena del Lago and into Ferradura. Maybe one last crack at the whip here, Kieran.
Maybe indeed, as he makes his way now through in towards turn 8. Now descending in towards Pinheiro, through in towards turn 9. Back on the power and climbing up the hill towards turn 10. Very tricky corner then, very easy to lock an inside wheel. Back on the power as we now descend our way through in towards turn 11. And downwards we go towards Jun Sau, turn 12. Back on the power, he will go then hitting that apex. What sort of lap time is it going to be from Matt212? It's currently a 1 minute 10.5 as it's just full throttle from here. If you want it to be, DRS wide open for Matt then as he makes his way onwards and upwards towards the line. It's a 1 minute 10.4 from Matt, and that's 17th fastest in the session.
Well, there we are. I think that about brings an end to proceedings. Tukey crosses the line. Meraki's invalidated his lap time. That will do it. Okay, then. This is very interesting, then. Once we get this time reveal, boy, what an order we could have as Meraki just slams on the anchors in front of the Williams driver. That was very rude. And a little biff in the side pod for good measure from the American Dream. That's a 5-place grid penalty from the game. But that will do it, Kieran. And now, the million-dollar question. Who on earth is on pole position?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there was a little bit of a target there. As you'll see through these lap times, there's about 5 or 6 drivers that have sort of tried to aim for a certain position. You see there, Safso did get the fastest lap of the session, 1 minute 7.5, with Tukey in second there, 1 minute 8.153. But yeah, you see just around sort of Meraki downwards, down towards Infratic there's a clear indication that they all tried to get a mid 1 minute 9, which some of them have managed to do a great job on that one. And, well, I have to say, that was one of the more interesting qualifying sessions, I do have to say, but I thoroughly enjoyed that one. And with that, we'll hand back to Tom Squared.
Well. Not Tom Squared. There we go. I thought it was just going to be Tom Singular on your screens. Very, very interesting. People seemingly had an idea that it might be in the mid 1 minute 9s. Nobody got it bang on. I'm going to say that straight away. So there was going to be a point on offer for a bullseye if you hit the dead centre. That has not happened. So I think the only rightful way to reveal what the time was and in turn who is on pole position is we will eventually hear from the great man himself, TK. Obviously, we both know the times, and from behind the scenes, that was very, very interesting to watch. We're hearing that people thinking Scotty might have cooked, going with the disqualification. That's going to be very interesting. Scotty himself thinking that was calculated. So I think, should we get ready to see, should we see what the time was? And let's hear from the man himself. Hayden, let us in for it.
So with qualifying wrapped up, I'm sure you are dying to know who is on pole position, who got the closest to my lap time. Well, I can reveal that my lap time that I did around Brazil was the lap time that you all had to match. And the number of that lap time I am going to reveal in a moment. And you will all find out the driver who will be sat on pole position. And the lap time that I did was a 1.09. 5.79. The driver closest to that lap time will be on pole position, and the driver furthest away will be starting at the back of the grid. I've been 2-time pole position driver Hayden Gullis, and now I hope you all enjoy the race.
Well. 5.79 was the point. Most people were in the right ballpark. You thought it was a 109.5. It was the 109.5, and that means not Lodinoba on pole this time. I'm very sorry to Lodinoba and the whole nation of Italy. However, we have the grid set, and I think if Carl Peranic can jump in, the legendary Carl Peranic can jump in, do you want to take us through, row by row, Carl, of what we've got in store for us?
I shall indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Tom Wilkinson. Your grid for the Brazilian Grand Prix, then. Let's see who's cooked and who hath not. On the last row of the grid, unfortunately the DSQ was not the play for Scotty Design, who's manufactured last on the grid. Safso, albeit a blinding lap, starts on 19th alongside him. Moving up, we go Dark Viper GT and Tukey. Also, not quite meeting the assignment, right on point. We then move to the next row. 16th, Alex Can't Drive with Lolinoba in P15, 9/10 of a second off. 14th was Chappers with 13th, Matt 212, so a good thing he got that lap time in the end, but nowhere near breaking into the top 10. Then Kareem 70, our sprint race winner, our Intus pole man, but not pole position man, he's P12, with Ricky 03 rounding out that particular row. Skyzy just starts out the top 10 for us, with Rasin Chai, a man in the championship fight, setting a lap time on hard that got him P9. 8th place goes to Meraki then, with Chesnoy Gaming in P7 in that McLaren car. 6th place, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe people were screaming at him not to do it, but he did it anyway. The Australian sensation is P6 with that guy Vince, both V-Carbs 6th and 5th. 4th place goes to Formula Kai in the Alpine, with Fabio doing some absolutely delightful drifting. Well, he's front of the second row. Our leading duo then, Concept 7 in P2, 21 thousandths off, but 11 thousandths off. And our pole sitter for the Brazilian Grand Prix, it's Alex Gillen.
Well, 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 Alex Gillen. If ever you needed a man to try and work it out, of course, it would be Alex Gillen to end up on pole position. I think what's fascinating is we've got the same top two that finished from Mexico a few weeks ago. Alex Gillen first, Concept 7 doing a really, really good job. From watching behind the scenes, there was one person that stood out. We were going to get a very interesting front row that would have been Alex Gillen and Tiamat Marduk. However, he went quicker and dropped himself down a couple of places.
He really did. And actually, he was kind of saying over the team radio, and we saw it on the screen, that he wanted to go about 4 tenths quicker. But I think if he hadn't have done that, he would have been close, if not on the chance for pole position. My camera doesn't want to focus today, so we're just going to have to deal with a very blurry me. But Ben was just one of these drivers that I think was either over-analysing the situation or maybe just didn't trust in the lap that he'd previously set. So went for it again when he probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, and that could have been very, very spicy. We do have some big names towards the front end of the grid. Obviously, Infratic and Formula Kai starting on that second row. They got a little bit involved with each other, didn't they, in the sprint, battling very, very hard, especially come the end of that. Maybe some afters between the pair of them on that first lap.
I think Brazil was going to be one of those circuits that we quite can never confirm or deny what's going to happen, because as you head into the Center S's, we've seen 3, if not 4 wide at the opening of that sprint. Yes, we're in a little bit of a longer race situation now. We've got 70-something laps ahead of us. But I think quite a few of the drivers are still going to have that same mentality where it's like the race can be won through the Center S's and as you head down the Retroposta. So who knows what we're going to see. I think our commentators are going to be busy. I think we're going to have some interesting things from behind the scenes.
100%, I think they will do. Well, on our screens now are said commentators, Kieran McGinley and Carl Pranick. Now, both of you knew the lap time going into the session. I'm going to start with you, Kieran. How enticing was that dynamic, seeing drivers flip-flopping all over the place, trying to work out the time that people thought was what they needed to aim for?
Well, it was amazing fun. I mean, just trying to see drivers, just trying to work it out and try and see what lap time they needed. It's so easy when it's just you're looking through the curtain, through the looking glass, being like, no, don't do it, but you can't say it. Yeah, I think Tiamat Marduk's going to be kicking himself on that one. But again, you can't kick yourself over something you didn't know. You just have to trust your gut at some point. And, well, for Ben, he starts in 6th place. I mean, in fairness to him, still not a bad starting position. But, yeah, I don't know about you, Carl. Alex Gillen starting on pole. No matter what we throw at him, he just manages to find that pole position sometimes.
Doesn't he just? And that's why he's our second 2-time champion in Creator Series and gunning for a 3rd. He's just got that level of experience. He knows what the tricks are. He knows exactly what to extract out of every single session. And, well, I think needless to say, he played that session to absolute perfection. Unbeknownst to him, obviously, but he did play it to perfection. So interesting to see the different approaches, though. So incredibly interesting. I think the smuggest man out there, though, is going to be Captain Smug himself, Hayden Gullis. With people setting 1-minute 7s, he's going to think he's going to think he's a pace merchant. Unbelievable.
He's been flattered quite significantly there by people like Safso, jumping straight in there, straight for the juggler in the 107s there, like you said. Some drivers, though, were a long way off further back. We saw people end up in the 12, some people in the 11s as well. Did you find those tactics interesting from watching it? Were you expecting drivers the likes of maybe, we had Dart Viper, I think, towards the back. Did you think they were going to go for it later on, Kieran?
Yes and no. I thought some of them did hold back for sure. But, you know, it's one of those things where it's a case if you don't want to go quicker than the lap time that you think it is, because if you do that, then there's no way to get closer to that lap time again. You can only get yourself further away. So it's a case of who's that Olympian that likes to, break his pole vault record by 1 centimetre every single time, just to make sure he gets the payout for breaking the world record every time. It's a bit like that. You've got a target time there, then you'll have your delta, and you're just looking for, maybe a 1/10, 2/10, half a 1/10, just eating away at that lap time with the laps you do around the track. It's not easy to do whatsoever. And if you've got multiple sources of information telling you one time is in, the 109s, another one's in the 111s or 112s, then where do you go? Which lap time do you pull out and say, that's the lap time I'm aiming for?
And Carl, obviously we've seen you driving a couple of times in the Creator Series. From a driver's perspective, even if you know the lap time you're aiming for, how difficult is it to actually achieve that lap time and get as physically close as you possibly can?
It's more difficult than you think, I feel like, because you have to choose you have to choose where to compromise. That's the thing. And you have to keep it consistent, particularly when you've got a session like that. When you are pushing to the absolute gills, usually, where do you put the pace down? Where do you compromise? And how do you apply that consistently as well? So you know that the rate of improvement isn't all that significant. It's an extremely awkward dynamic for a qualifying session, but equally one that a lot of people have actually mastered pretty well. Some also earlier than others. I mean, in the case of Fabio, set his lap time very early on in the day, decided, okay, I'm calling it quits. I'm going to burn some rubber, which again, the protesters might not be happy with, but they didn't stop it this time. But he was right to do so in the end. Again, unbeknownst to him, but he was right to do so. And again, just like I say, very interesting to see the different approaches, and interesting to see some just put too many eggs in the basket.
100%. And the way it was flip-flopping, we thought it was going to be Chappers coming in late. We thought Concept 7 was in there as well. We thought Alex Gillen obviously was there, and Ben making a bit of a mess of it come the end of it, but leaving himself still in a very decent position. I think we should have a word about Fabio, because Carl, you mentioned it in the sprint. Back in that Williams that he's had some success in so far this season. Kieran, how strongly do you think Fabio can compete at this? Yes, he's got Alex Gillen in front of him. Yes, he's got Concept as well, who's in a Ferrari. But that Williams ain't too shabby.
No, it's not. And it's sort of proven in a straight line it's actually quite handy. So we'll see what he can do. I mean, he needs a bit of a pick-me-up. It's been since second race of the season, he got a podium there, third place for him. And since then, things haven't worked out his way. He's been caught up in incidents. Some he's been at fault for, some he hasn't. But in any case, it's not been a great time for him. What a way to get right back into form and show everyone what you can do again, by absolutely smashing out of the park. He smashed qualifying there. He smashed getting as close to lap time as possible. He's in a really good position. We'll see what he can do.
And finally, Carl, a little bit of a chatter about our sprint runner, Kareem 70, starting a little bit further down in P12, but with the confidence that he must be oozing after that sprint race victory, and a comfortable one as well. How quickly do you think he can battle his way through and challenge for a podium, maybe even more?
Sky's the limit, I think, with Kareem 70. Honestly, I think that sprint win will have done an immense amount of favours for him, which is wonderful to see. And what he did in the sprint race that he's done quite a few times when he's had no racing line is just be a little bit more patient. He's just backed it off slightly in terms of the braking zone, in terms of his approach into the corners when he was following some of the other cars. So immediately you can see he has been learning. There has been incremental improvements as he goes through. And if he can keep that up in the main event, well, boy, who knows? It could be the mighty double for Kareem 70.
Well, there is so much magic, isn't there, in the history of the Brazilian Grand Prix in Formula One. We have a grid that's a little bit mixed up, but there is still a very familiar face on the front row. Moments away from kicking off what is a 71-lap race. And if Brazil in the history of Formula One is anything to go by, expect the unexpected. And maybe a little bit of a sprinkling of rain as well. While I've got you here, very quickly, two commentators, Kieran and Carl, let's get some predictions in for your Brazilian Grand Prix winner.
Well, Gillen's on pole. It would be, you'd put your mortgage on him converting that to a victory. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But Ben's been in such good form. I see him overturning that. It's 6th place. He gained 14 places in the sprint. Kareem as well, he's in great form, absolutely walked the sprint. Can he do a similar job? He has to start a little bit further back this time around, but could be any one of those three. I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to say Ben.
Oh, big shout, big shout. Carl, what about you?
See, this is interesting, right? Gillen has the track position, fair play to him, firstly. But that Sauber, I mean, I was checking the times on the telemetry through the sprint. That Sauber looked a handful to drive. The tyres weren't that dissimilar in age. He had clear air, and he was still lapping, 6 tenths almost slower than the race leader and a couple of tenths off the lead train. So the Sauber, whether that's been ironed out with setup or not, I don't know. But it looked a handful to drive out there. And the V-Carb looked extremely poised. So I can't see why Tiamat Marder couldn't win this race. In fact, he's probably top of my list. Kareem 70, if he can carve through the traffic, I think he's right in the conversation as well.
Well, I think we should serve up some very interesting action, don't you? The voices of the Brazilian Grand Prix here for the Creator Series. Once again, the brilliant Carl Poranic and Kieran McGinley.
Thank you very much, Tom. Yes, we're just in the paddock then, basking in the glorious sunshine and about to take on the 4.3 kilometres of the circuit Interlagos. Amazing track here, which has its history all the way back in 1973. Of course, it was a lot longer circuit back then. Now it's just been cut down to the 4.3 kilometres. Fun fact, though, the lap record, a 1 minute 10.540 in Motorsport Formula 1, set by Valtteri Bottas back in 2018. We've got 71 laps ahead of us and probably plenty of safety cars. When it rains here in Brazil, it normally does pour. Watch out as well for that turn 3. It might not be replicated just as well, but there normally is a lake that forms across there. And be careful of the curb on the inside of turn 3. I won't give anything away in the sprint, but just be careful, okay? We've all got that clear. Carl, it's a fantastic place to go racing. Plenty of undulation, plenty of titles have been won here, dreams have been shattered, and just plenty of absolutely brilliant races along the way.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's just a